Hi everyone, Talk Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a little think piece here, where I give a strong opinion about something I've been thinking about for a while. I don't know if you've noticed, but over the past 7 years or so, there's been a pretty significant sea change going on in rap music, taking the genre in directions that artists and fans who were alive and coming of age during the golden era couldn't even have imagined of. While hip-hop music is more popular than ever, and it seems to be permeating every single facet of popular culture, it's more fractured than it's ever been as well. Sonically, stylistically, culturally, no longer is the genre one or two or even three cohesive styles or cultures. Because now, in 2017, in the internet age, the genre has been cut up between the countless unorthodox and experimental sounds that have infiltrated everything from the underground to the mainstream. From Death Grips to Kanye West to Run the Jewels and Clipping and Kendrick Lamar, just to name a very, very select few. I could list artists all day. But the one artist I would like to focus on in this video is one of the most polarizing to break through in the past few years, and that's Lil Yachty. Now, Lil Yachty, if you didn't know, he's a Georgia rapper. A little while back, he dropped this Little Boat mixtape, which, if you haven't heard it, will be one of the weirdest things that you do hear in the genre of at least modern hip-hop. Not only because of the glitzy, sort of blissful, upbeat instrumentals, the weird double personality schizophrenia concept thing going on between the lyrics, but also Yachty's vocals and his vocal delivery, just this really kind of odd, somewhat silly, amateurish. Ugh. He does not sound like a cold-blooded, serious, aggressive rapper, and as a result of that, when I first listened to this thing, I thought it was kind of a novelty project. But as I gave this thing more and more and more time, it sort of grew on me, and what is so appealing about this thing sort of revealed itself. Now, I'm not trying to re-review this project over here. I'm just saying if you haven't heard this thing, please do, because in retrospect, having heard this and trying to keep up with what Lil Yachty's been doing musically lately, I think he is a sign of hip-hop's punk phase. Because in my opinion, recently the genre has been kind of splitting off again, sonically, culturally, in much the same way that rock was in the 70s and the 80s. I really do think this is not clickbait. I'm not just saying Lil Yachty is hip-hop's punk phase just to say it. I seriously think that if we don't look back on Lil Yachty as the marker for this era in hip-hop history, he will at least be one of the standout moments. That's not to say that Lil Yachty is the most talented or the best rapper out right now. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that this man's music represents a cultural, a musical shift in this particular style of music. Now, what qualifies it as punk? What makes this punk to me? You know, oh, where are the Mohawks, Anthony? Where are the radical politics, you know? Lil Yachty is not exactly rebelling against the system. And, you know, we already have Death Grips, Anthony, and they're super punk. I get that, you know, but what I'm trying to say here is that Lil Yachty is not perfectly mirroring the fashion of punk music. He's not doing that at all. And I wouldn't even really define punk music by its radical politics either, because there were tons of bands that were not really all that political, almost apolitical. Not every punk group that came out during the 70s and 80s had an anarchist or a hard leftist message in their music. And it's not too soon after the late 70s that major labels had their claws in the punk movement, were selling and printing records. And I'm not saying that these bands are less punk as a result of that. All I'm trying to say here is that punk was a musical, it was an artistic movement more than anything. And that's what makes Lil Yachty stand out to me, because much in the same way that punk did, he's taking these established rules within his genre, which over time have become more complex, have become more rigid, have become more obsessed with technical proficiency, and he's completely throwing them out the window in favor of a new approach, in favor of a more primitive approach, in favor of a more raw and amateurish approach. Lil Yachty is no more a drop in the quality of lyrics in hip-hop than the Ramones were a drop in quality in guitar playing within rock music. And while this drop has been happening for a while, it's been an ongoing trend. I could name numerous rappers like Lil B and Waka Flocka Flame, Young Thug, and even Migos with Versace, artists that over the years have been turning heads, and especially older hip-hop fans and artists have been just gawking at them like, man, this is the new low in lyrics, how bad is it gonna get? What makes Lil Yachty different though is not just that I don't think he's the worst of the worst that's out right now, but I think it's his openness to purposefully buck the tradition of all the hip-hop that's preceded him, rejecting the rules and in interview after interview telling old rap fans and artists alike that, you know, you don't need a Hot 16 to make a song, you don't need to be able to freestyle, you don't need to be able to do this, you don't need to be able to do that. These are not really the rules by which the game is played anymore. In interviews, I remember the Sex Pistols being similarly unenthusiastic when it came to praising their forefathers and talking about their influences or the artists or whoever inspires them to do what they do.
What musicians do you write? I mean, who do you think is a good singer?
I don't. I don't have any heroes. They're all useless.
It's overrated.
And while this also is certainly a part of an ongoing trend in a lot of contemporary hip-hop, what makes Yachty kind of stand out is that he seems conscious of the direction that his music is pushing the genre in. He seems aware of how his music sort of fits, or rather doesn't fit, in the grander scheme of things. He's not just doing what he's doing because he's a clueless goon who's just going along with the trap trend because it's just the trend of the moment. From when he initially broke out to the present and hopefully into the future, Lil Yachty continues to be an outsider within the genre on multiple levels, not just with his style and his sound, but how he kind of conducts himself within the culture of the genre. A lot of it just strikes me and a lot of other people who've been following him as strange, as unique. And I don't necessarily get the sense from him like I do occasionally from Lil B or Young Thug, that some of the weird things that he's doing are just kind of a cry for attention. And I realize a lot of what I'm saying about Yachty could also apply to artists like, let's say, Tyler, the Creator. But one thing that Tyler did not continue to do, which he was doing in the beginning, was kind of, again, buck those traditions and kind of write off the people who preceded him. Sure, there are some early forum posts of him talking down on like J Dilla or Kanye, but that rhetoric he shut up really quick the moment the limelight was actually on him. Lil Yachty, on the other hand, couldn't give fewer fucks. And as he's doing so, he continues to just kind of be this regular, goofy kid who is writing the script as he goes along, and simply just playing by his own rules as most punks did. Now, I'm not saying you gotta like the guy's music. I'm not even really making a statement on the quality of the man's music. I'm just talking about simply where he sort of fits into this cultural shift that's going on within rap right now. And I await your pissed off responses in the comments, I guess, because I'm not sure if too many people will be all that happy with what I said, but I wholeheartedly believe that it is the case. Transition. Have you given this opinion a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I opinionate next? Hit the like if you like, please subscribe, and please don't cry. Just leave an angry comment in the comments if you're angry. Lil Yachty, all sorts of other links next to my head and stuff. Subscribe to the channel too, official website, forever.